Hi, it's AR with Antisocial-MEDIA. I'm here with Tim Shiner.
What's up, buddy?
Hello, Tim. And his wife, Crystal, along with Jessica with Antisocial-MEDIA. Tim and Crystal have welcomed us to their home today to talk about their new book, My Wife Loves Rent Houses. Tim, what can you tell us about the book?
Well, the title is My Wife Loves/Hates Rent Houses, because with rent houses, it can be a love-hate thing. And what Crystal and I, we have 20 high-end rental properties in the South Lake area. And what we found is we've had low-end stuff. And how do you like the low-end stuff?
It's challenging.
Do we have any more of it anymore?
I don't believe so.
That was the hate part of rent houses. Our twist is a little bit different. We buy high-end rent houses in great school districts. You guys have a lot of kids. You're in a great ISD in Keller, and families tend to flock towards great school districts. So our angle is a little bit different, that we try to buy high-end rent houses in great school districts. And then we create another revenue stream out of that, because Crystal's a real estate agent, that if a renter moves into one of our houses, we let them tear up their lease if they buy a house from her.
So Crystal, what made you decide to write a book?
She actually didn't want to write a book. I made her write it.
So why did Tim make you write this book?
Well, you know what? We work together on all this stuff, and he's great at it. He writes books. He likes this kind of stuff. But, you know, he wanted my opinion and my side of it. And it has to be a joint effort, because if your wife isn't on board with this stuff, it could definitely cause a lot of trouble, a lot of heartache, a lot of drama.
So a lot of real estate agents that we dealt with before Crystal became one just simply didn't care that much. I mean, you can go to your kid's soccer game or go write up a rent house lease. So it forced one of us to become the real estate agent. And because Crystal was a Southwest flight attendant and still is, it allowed her to stay home and help our business versus being away from the kids and flying.
Well, you know, agents do care, but they care about getting that little lease property filled and moving on to the next deal, because they don't really make much money from a lease property, where their money is as a real estate agent would be buying and selling. So nobody's going to care about your lease property like you do. I mean, nobody. And plus, the quality of your tenant, it's a personal thing, because we want to make sure that we get somebody with a good credit score, and we have a certain criteria that, you know, we expect, need, and want. So as an outside agent, I mean, they're going to care, just not as deeply and as much as you would personally. The frustration of having a lot of wonderful, amazing friends that were agents, but again, they don't care like you do, not in a bad way. It's just another property for them, where it's personal for us. This is hopefully our retirement someday.
One of the questions I had from reading the book was, so you talk about your rental properties and then you turn around and help your tenants find a home to move into. Do you also, on the back end, do they remember you and ask you to be their listing agent later?
Yeah. Oh, it's so fun. I recently just had a house where they leased, they went and bought. Unfortunately, they've gone through a divorce. I got the house back. Then I helped each one of them find their next, step or adventure. So it does. I mean, you want to, and also too, for me personally, it really, I love giving back. I love helping. So it's emotional. You go through the journey with people.
Right.
Something that I really took from the book was two things. Number one, this isn't a for-profit money-making deal to write this book. All the profits go to
Safe Haven, the women's shelter for women in need in Fort Worth. So if a woman has to pack up in the middle of the night because she has an abusive husband, all the royalties go to Safe Haven. And every time we write a book, it always goes to a cause. We're not trying to make anything from the book. If we're fortunate enough to make a bunch of mistakes, which we talk about, which is kind of brutal, and if we're fortunate enough to do a few things right, then we want to share that so that couples can avoid it. Our biggest concern is if you buy the wrong rent house, that might be it. Alan, we were talking off camera. One of the chapters is you're sitting on your launch pad, which basically means take your house you're currently in and turn that into your first rental house, because it does a few things. One, it allows you to start with a really good rent house, and then you make mama happy because you get a better house. And the other thing is, when you own or occupy a house, you only have to put 3 to 5% down. But when you buy an investment property, you have to put 20% down. Right.
You're starting to speak my language, because I like money and making money and doing that. And so I'm sitting here picturing, oh, my house that I live in, could I upgrade my house, and how do you do that? So what advice do you give someone starting out and they're a little bit overwhelmed with starting?
Honestly, I'd be lying if I said, oh gosh, yeah, look at me, I turned this house into, it's emotional, and it's really scary, and it's hard, because when you're a mom and, that type of money, you want to make sure you have that nest egg for your kids. You want to make sure the what ifs, the could be's, the maybes in life. I mean, your kids are number one in your family. And so to take that leap and gamble, it's a big deal and it's scary. Maybe.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, maybe, you know, I feel like a lot of times our husbands and in your relationship, they're like, come on, let's do it. And it's so much easier for y'all to say and jump. But as a mom, it's more of an emotional thing rather than a numbers game. So we really sat down and looked at the numbers part of it. It makes complete sense. It does. To turn it into a rental and go that direction, the appreciation is priceless, really. But the reality is very tough to get over emotionally.
Right.
So anyway.
The theme through the book is we've got a family and we're trying to set up a system for our family, not only for today, but for the future. And so many people know that they want to do something. They know they should do something. They know they're not in the right financial place in either their marriage or their own personal situation, but they don't know what to do and how to take that first step, that next step that'll launch pad.
So for a really fun little example, I've worked at a company for 23 years and I have a 401k profit sharing and I've contributed. It's a long time to be somewhere. So anyway, I've got that nest egg and then I've got this little house that I bought in a good school district and
Sure.
turned it into a rental. And so after, I don't know how long it's been, 8, 9, 10 years, I now have more equity built in that house than I do in my 401k profit sharing after 23 years. So
She has $325,000 for the equity in this house versus her 401k.
So that being said, I've used everything I've made from my real estate commissions, and I use that to go towards paying off that house, and I just paid it off a few months ago. So the exciting part of that for me as a mom, and talking about the big picture and all this, just on my little personal level, not our big scale, but now that house is paid for. So that's a little insurance policy if something was to happen. Someday we could leave that to the children, and you know, that rent is, I get $2,100 a month for that house. So I mean, that's a big car payment for the kids, or however they would want to use that for their families
Sure.
or grandchildren, whatever the scenario may be.
Alan, Jessica, it's exactly what the book's about. It's 16 chapters of me writing from a guy's perspective and then Crystal looking like Jane Judson writing from the female perspective. But there's a perfect example right there. Crystal wants to pay stuff off. I'm Mr. Leverage. I'd rather leverage stuff up. But you got to understand what the other person needs to feel comfortable. And the other thing, we added a chapter 3, I believe, after we were already done. And when you're sitting next to somebody on the plane, they go, hey, what do you do? Da, da, da. You talk about houses. Everyone thinks that you're a flipper because they're watching HGTV. And so we added a chapter because of our friend Mike Anderson, who's a mortgage king in Dallas. And he says, you got to know who you are. He was on a Bigger Pocket podcast, and he said, you're either an appreciation investor, which Crystal and I are, you're a flipper, or you're a cash flow investor.
We're in the social media business, and you can, across the social media spectrum, everybody's talking about the system they want to sell. You know, if you just follow my advice, you know, you'll be a millionaire just like me in 2 weeks, you know, all that kind of stuff. And it's really, it's modern day snake oil. And there are going to be people who watch this and who want to create wealth for their family. They want a good partnership with the husband and wife, right? We want stability moving into the future. And they're sitting here watching this and they're saying, yeah, that's all well and good for them. Look what they're doing. I can't do that. I can't be a property manager. I can't be a landlord. I can't own property. What could you say to somebody like that? And where would they find something like that in the book to show them that, yeah, you can, and all you have to do is launch?
I thought that. I mean, I still kind of do some days. I'm like, oh my gosh. No, I mean, at the end of the day, I just wanted a wonderful family and kids and to be a mom. I mean, I still like that. I'm sad they're all grown up. But anyway, it kind of goes back to like survival 101. Yeah, I just want to be a mom, but I also have to financially contribute. And it goes back to the core, I think, of most females is the fact that we want to help, we want to contribute, but the financial part of it, this is a great avenue, no matter what scale, level, who you are, to help with your financial future. I mean, you got to just jump in and do it, because if you don't, again, nobody's going to care like you do. So for us, that...
To the guys of the world thinking more of a business thing,
right?
There's your emotional part. That's why we wrote the book. Okay, so I look at it like this. We've all had jobs we didn't like in the past, and you got to go be there. We've all had bosses we haven't liked in the past. You got to be there. The most important thing is is if you put 20% down on a rent house and the bank puts 80%, as soon as that rent house goes up 20%, that's why you got to buy good stuff so it appreciates. As soon as that rent house goes up 20%, you're playing with house money. What I always say when people go, I can't do that. I'm like, all right, well then what are you going to do?
Well, it kind of made me think of when Crystal was talking. When I was a stay-at-home mom for our kids, Alan was working like 90 hours a week.
Yep.
I kind of dabbled in some multi-level marketing and things like that and thought, oh, I'll contribute this way. But then this opportunity with social media came. And I used to like sit back and be a little bit jealous of like hairdressers or people who could just add one more client. If they needed extra money,
Right.
okay, I can take on someone else.
Sure.
And then I would get frustrated with those people when I see that they actually wouldn't take on one more client. Like, how can you not want to make more money? How can you not want to do that? And so I started this social media thing, and I kind of see like the real estate property is the same thing. Like, okay, well, let's figure out a way to buy another property and make a little bit more money.
Absolutely. And you can mold it to your schedule. So that was one of the great, wonderful gifts of real estate for me personally, because I could still meet my goals of my family and my children, but you can weave it in as needed when it works for you, how it's convenient. So that's flexible. That's great.
I think it's a terrific book. My wife loves rent houses. A Happy Couple's Guide to Building Real Estate Wealth is a terrific read. It's an easy read. The message is terrific. Is there, you always hate the question. Is there one last parting, statement you can give? But I would just ask, what are the building blocks?
Question that you can ask is, both of you separately, what is your key to success?
So my best advice is you're sitting on your launch pad. Make
Same
your
as
wife
the
happy.
building block that he asked. This is how you start. And
Yeah,
you go.
that's
That's your
it's the
key to
easiest
success.
thing to do.
I'm going back to answering it right back to where we started today. Don't be scared, because that was my biggest thing to overcome. If I could get over the challenge of my emotions, because they overcame me. I wanted stability, I wanted security, I wanted to make sure all these numbers equaled up to be what they needed to be so that I felt safe and secure. So I think that would probably be my thing to take away is get over it. You
That's a
gotta
good
jump
one.
in,
Love
do it,
Isn't
go
that
for
an Eagle
it.
song or Don Henley song?
Yeah, it's a
Get
Don
over
Henley
it.
song.
So
Get
anyway,
over it.
yeah, because really, realistically, it doesn't matter where you're at in your life, what level, whatever. You got to start somewhere, and so just jump in and do it.